Welcome and thank you for joining us. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. 2011 is here. How are things looking this time compared to last year? Is our economy getting better? Do we see a better political landscape? How about the world in general? Are we going to feel more harmony and peace? On the program today, we're going to bring our wonderful psychic, Miss Sonia Grace, who's going to be sharing with us what we can see in store for our future of 2011 and beyond. I'd like to welcome to our program our guest, Ms. Sonia Grace. Sonia, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Now, how's everything looking this time?
Well, it's going to be a really interesting year. It's different from last year. I think last year we really experienced, the roller coaster ride on the economic front. This year, it's definitely earth-based, and it's a roller coaster ride on the earth front.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is that?
Well, I feel that everything that I've been receiving from my guides and, just tuning into this for quite some time since before the beginning of the year, I started in late December, is pointing towards, earth changes. Mm-hmm. We're looking at earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, storms, and we've already started to see this. I mean, we've experienced a huge earthquake in Chile, a big one in Pakistan. There's been flooding in Australia, the Philippines, Brazil. We're already off to a pretty rock and roll start. Mm-hmm. And I believe from what I'm receiving, we're in for more.
So it sounds to me, to make this economy balanced, what we need to do is purchase a lot of insurance.
Yeah. Oh, the insurance world loves that. Yes. But also, what I see happening over the course of the year, and all of these things happening throughout the world, is the world economy coming together. That it will connect us, and much in crisis when everybody pulls together as a family, as a world family, we will unite. And I see an actual monetary system for the world being implemented and put into place.
Well, now, is that a good thing, though?
Well, I think it's a way for all of us to work together. I see it as being something that allows, all of us around the world to see that we're not that far off from each other. We just live on different pieces of land. And I believe that this will give us the opportunity to keep our separateness, and that, yes, we're America, and yes, that's Germany, and yes, that's China, but that we will have a commonality because of the things that are going on in the world. The economy, by the way, is going to really be on an upswing this year, and we, from what I can see, take a bit of a dip in April and also late November, beginning of December. But for the most part, steady as she goes, and it's actually on the rise.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So things for people that I guess you're saying are looking pretty fair, balanced, or good?
I would say they're looking good.
Okay.
And the other thing that I feel is that the economy is, there's lots of talk people get going on this, double dip recession, and my guides have said no, that's not the trend at all. In fact, there is so much being generated sort of in jobs and other industries starting up and things happening in other countries that are going to help the United States. It's all, to me, it's looking like a win-win.
Well, that's very good, very encouraging for people out there. I'm sure that it's really had some pretty desperate situations in the last couple of years.
Absolutely. The other good news is the housing real estate market is going to really be on the rise as well. From what I gathered, it's probably going to double what people are estimating it will do this year. Mm-hmm. So land, house sales, all of it are going to really be on the rise.
Mm-hmm. Now, it was just interesting because the other day I was watching a movie. It was The Perfect Storm, and it's about sword fishing, in a boat that ends up trapped in the perfect storm, for instance. And you see these guys really, bringing in the fish, but they don't realize to get back to where they need to get to that it's a pretty fair chance you're not going to make it. But then what I was thinking about mostly was the fishing itself, and I thought, how much fishing has gone on and how much further are we going to be until things get beyond any kind of repair? What do you see, not just in that, but as far as, the natural world in general?
From what I'm seeing on that front, we're facing some pretty big challenges this year. I was being shown a fairly big disease that could hit worldwide, and it looks like a virus, not anything that is known to man to really figure out how to get rid of it. We may lose some people in the way, from this virus, but there's a lot of things that are being born out of the mismanagement and choices that are made around food and animals that are used for food. So I think this is one of the backlashes that's going to come. And I certainly would encourage people to, eat organic and, plant a garden and do what you can on your own, because this is something that's already begun. South Korea is dealing with a new outbreak of hoof and mouth, and they're having to kill millions of cows and livestock that they use for meat source.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a great deal of awareness I would recommend people keep and continue on the front of, viruses and things that are spreading worldwide. It looks like a tough one this year.
Certainly, yeah. And besides that, learning to garden for yourself can't be a bad thing, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Now, how about the political front? I mean, there's a lot in the wind that the Obama administration seems to be on their way out the door. People are unsatisfied. And, there's a part of me, especially over the many years, that kind of looks at the situation and feels, well, okay, maybe you decide he hasn't done the job, but are you going to blame everything that's happened all on his administration for not being totally successful at turning everything around that's basically built over the last 30 to 40 years?
Correct, and I agree with you. I have asked my guides if he would be reelected for another term, and they have said no. I don't know that, I'm not sure what choice he'll make when he comes to that place. I do feel that on a political front, we are in a position this year of watching some changes take place that will unite us with world leaders in a way that we have not been united in the past. So there are some roads he's paving on a much bigger scale that will benefit the United States in the long run. There are some other things that are getting vetoed and, basically thrown out that are going to also have an impact on this country, and we're in for some pretty big changes. I think over this next year we're going to watch sort of the tide rise and go out, and we're going to watch the political front do the same thing. There's a lot of focus right now on China, obviously with China's leader here visiting the country, but on the whole year scope, China is definitely in the spotlight, and China's definitely going to be in the lead here.
And do you think that'll be a good thing?
My guides have said yes. They're saying that they are so much more advanced in technology that there's a tremendous amount of sort of technology stuff that they're going to bring in to the world that's that we're all ready for and we're going to need. Mm-hmm. China's also probably going to experience a fairly large earthquake this year, and they're going to need to be prepared for that as well.
See, I think it's just important for our listeners to know that, here China steps up as a superpower, but one thing they've done differently from the United States is that when they go to countries that really seem to need financing, whether it's a country that's been devastated by a storm or they need some kind of economic revival, they actually implement fiscal policies that really help the country get back on its feet rather than what we've seen, the kind of nasty things we've done to other countries that's caused them to become impoverished to where they never get out of debt. And I think it's actually a situation, these are, things that I've researched and read, that the world starts saying, it's kind of a pleasure to see, I guess, a country, if you will, really do the right thing, and that's going to change a lot of things, I would think.
Yes. Absolutely. And there's some really good things, I think, coming together between China and ourselves. I have seen more discourse between North Korea and South Korea, and when that comes about, which it looks like it's in March, China's the one that's going to step in.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank God for China. There's also some earthquakes coming up. I've seen some down in South America, Peru. I know Chile just had one, but I see Peru also potentially experiencing some turbulence. California, the New Madrid fault line in the Midwest, they're going to experience some more. And as I said, China, we're going to have volcanic eruptions in quite a few places on the planet. We might even hear some rumblings from Rainier and Shasta.
Oh.
When these earthquakes begin, meaning as they progress and there's more, we could experience, some of the other side of the scope, which is more UFO sightings, more experiencing the, like, whoa, what was that? I just saw a bright light in my neighbor's field. We may start experiencing more of that stuff because there's definitely a very close watch on this planet. And from what I understand, this planet is referred to as the jewel of the universe. And rightly so. We have more resources and more things available on that front than most planets. So, definitely we're being watched. And I think a lot of the prophecies and things that people have spouted from various religions and cultures are based around a religious template, when in fact I believe what possibly is going to happen is, we have visitations from other beings, from other places. We have, the Earth certainly rearranging landmass, and the poles are definitely shifting. We're headed straight for an ice age, and from what I understand, within the next 5 years, we will be in an ice age.
Now, what does that look like when you say ice age? Are we talking about the way it was before, or is it going to be a temperate ice age? Exactly. What is it?
Are we talking snowmobiles and snowshoes, or are we talking
Planet Hoth like in Star Wars 2?
Right. We're talking the northern hemisphere being covered. So, Norway, Sweden, Scotland, Wales, Canada, all the way down into the northern part of the United States. I've heard as far as Portland, Eugene, and everything being basically in ice and snow.
Wow.
And from what my understanding is it will start getting colder, and we'll notice this, I think, this year. It'll be snowing, say, in June in Canada, and people will go, that's weird, it's snowing in Canada right now. And it's just going to be this trend that keeps getting colder and colder, and we're going to start seeing it come on. Now, an ice age can come on really fast, but I see this one actually being more progressive in that we're watching huge amounts of precipitation right now, because the ocean waters are getting warmer, it's colder underneath, it's causing more water to evaporate and go up and come back down, thus the flooding in Australia and various places around the planet right now. We even had flooding here in Portland. It's happening more and more, and as that happens, the whole Earth is shifting, the poles are shifting, and we're going to probably go right into what is known as an ice age. We'll survive it. It's not like we can't, pack our bags and move south.
Mm-hmm. So we can go
south. Don't worry about
huh?
moving yet because I see it primarily over the northern part of the world.
Ah, okay.
Northern hemisphere.
Now, here's a big one. What about the spiritual condition of the planet? I mean, we're talking for a good few thousand years. There's been basically what I would call political religion, so to speak. And we seem to see more unity. And this was something that I personally tried describing on my radio show. This was about 12, 13 years ago. I said, I see the spiritual convergence of things kind of coming together, and everybody, even though having their different beliefs, kind of go, but there really is only one summit, so to speak. How does all of that look?
Well, it looks like a lot of questions between this year of 2011 and next year, 2012, are going to get answered, meaning, everybody, like I was talking about earlier, has their prophecies, I mean, there are some people that are saying the end of days is in May of this year. There's some people that are saying it's all going to end on December 24th of 2012. The Mayan calendar ends. There's all of these prophecies of our world ending as we know it. And I feel, and my guides have said, it is a shift, spiritually speaking, it's a shift in consciousness. That what is going to end is sort of an age of, the barbaric humanity to a more enlightened humanity. Now, does that mean we're just going to all glide right into this shift in consciousness? No, there's going to be a bumpy ride. The Earth is going to definitely do her thing, and we're going to have to survive it. And we're also going to have to really get on the stick of realizing that we are one Earth family. We're not separated. And as you were just saying, Dan, there is a lot of separation between religions and politics and all across the board. Lots of separation. And yes, this year is going to be very revealing for those separations, in that I think different groups that believe certain things are going to realize that what they've been believing isn't true and isn't that way, it's this way, or they're going to be shown the truth of it.
In other words, the idea of embracing God is a lot more flexible than we used to practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Exciting stuff. So
and that the end of days or the big catastrophe is perhaps interpreted because there will be a big earthquake and a lot of people will, have problems and have to move or whatever. But that may, in fact, be the interpretation. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of humanity, and we all know how to survive.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Just like, back in the 80s, when the planets all line up, that's going to be the end of the world. Then there was the Y2K thing, and, that's going to be the end of the world. And, here we are, 2012's around the end of the corner. Most people couldn't even say the word Mayan, and that's the end of the world. And it's like, what's the matter with your people and your thinking? Where's the optimism here?
I know. My favorite is my mom when she says, "Oh, honey, if the world had ended all the times that people said it was going to end in my lifetime, who knows where we'd be."
Well, it was like with the Y2K thing. I remember feeling alarmed in the early part of 1999. I'd never even heard of anything like that. Interestingly enough, I actually met and interviewed the guy toward the end of 1999. In fact, it was in December, who actually discovered the problem. And said, I'm putting out this little novel here. It's titled Nothing to Fear. And he says the only thing we have to fear is how people react to these things.
Exactly.
And, I started using a little common sense as the year progressed, from the beginning when I first heard about it. I thought, well, wait a minute. The computer shuts down. How does that keep the sun from coming up, streams from flowing, and birds from singing? It doesn't.
Exactly. Speaking of birds, there was a tremendous amount of news reports recently on 500 red-winged blackbirds that died in Atlanta, and there was, millions of fish that died in Chesapeake Bay, and there were fish that were found dead in near Atlanta. I think it was Louisiana. And I read this morning there was a very small article on the net about 60 birds that had died in West Lafayette, Indiana. And this is not isolated to the United States. there was a large group of birds that died in Sweden. There were birds that died in Brazil. There was a huge cache of crabs that died in England. I think there were birds that died in New Zealand, all over the planet, Japan. And, you know, I love the explanations, especially the fireworks explanation. Like, you know, there were fireworks in all of these countries around the world, not. So, you know, I asked my guides what this was about, and their response was there was a convergence of energy, basically from the universe, from somewhere out in the universe, that was from another, a group of beings, if you will, you know, extraterrestrial beings that are coming to this planet. That there is, again, that energy coming to the planet that you know, that we're so one-dimensional sometimes when we're thinking and walking around on this earth, that we're it and we're the only ones, and, you know, nobody else is out there. And in fact, you know, there's a tremendous amount of energy coming to the earth, because the earth is getting ready for some big changes, and it's not going unnoticed in the rest of the universe.
Wow.
So
if you, elaborate on this a little bit.
Well, I just want to say that for a flock of birds to, you know, as they said in the news, they all flew into the side of a building. Well, there were no buildings around for them to fly into. I believe the birds actually impacted, you know, energy. Could it be seen? If I was standing there, maybe with my abilities, I would have seen it. Would the normal, regular eyes see it? No. But that's not to say that there aren't vortexes of energy and things that happen here on Earth that are unexplainable. Look at the Bermuda Triangle, for heaven's sakes. You know, things disappear there all the time. There are vortexes of energy all over the Earth. But this, of what I heard from my guides, was actual energy coming down to the Earth, and an energy from another, you know, galaxy, another place. So the birds impact this energy because all of these birds, their hearts had completely exploded, if you will. There were blood clots everywhere, and it was from a heavy impact. So, you know, it got noticed in the news for about 2 days, and then it all got swept under the rug. And there was talk of, you know, possible gases and things coming up from, you know, the Earth shifting and, you know, different fault lines. But there were so many places around the world where this happened that I feel, and what my guides were saying, it's from somewhere else. It's another energy from somewhere else.
Fascinating stuff. So you were talking earlier in the program about the possibility of being looked into visitations, perhaps. What does all that mean?
Well, I just feel that it's going to be on the increase. You know, from July until December, there were 8 visible sightings of UFOs over China. And there's film. I mean, NBC put film of it up on their world news. I mean, there's film of this. And I think that this is just going to become more, there's going to be more of it. There's going to be more activity of it. People are starting to go, oh, well, this really may be a possibility. It's not just that I love watching E.T. You know, there's some truth coming out, and, you know, I feel that that's part of this evolution in consciousness to 2012, is that there's so many things that we have not really been able to wrap our brains around, nor have we been helped to see in terms of, you know, certain things being shut down. Let's keep it a secret. We don't want to freak people out.
Right.
And and what I'm concerned about is that a lot of this stuff is just going to smack everybody upside the head because, you know, nobody's wanted to deal with it or look at it. And that goes right down to, you know, a subject of Kyron Horman missing, and there's a huge child trafficking ring in this country, and nobody really wants to look at it. People do, but people don't.
Right.
You know? So it's all this unseen stuff, I feel, in the next year or 2 years before 2012 is going to come to the surface. And you know, it's going to bring a lot of interesting things up for people. And people may choose to take the high road and be peaceful and very understanding of each other and work together, or people may take the low road, you know, and then they're going back to behaving exactly the way they did in the 1400s.
Oh, no.
Oh, goody.
I don't know if we really want anything like that anymore.
Well, I don't think anyone does. But I say that to give everyone a moment to pause. You know, the quality of your passage is up to you.
Mm-hmm. So now, do we feel ourselves, especially here in the United States, becoming freer citizens from our government to where they're going to become more accountable, or is it just going to keep getting bigger and nastier?
Well, my guides are saying that it will become more controlling, and then it will reach a point, like an apex, where it will be no more. It will have a really big change, much in the way that the world is going to change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the planetary changes, even though we experience them like, oh, look, honey, the table's moving in the room, we're having an earthquake, right? We experience it visually that way. But we're also experiencing this change energetically, and that's the big difference. That's the part that people don't see, but they don't understand, why do I feel this way today? Why do I feel so different? Well, yeah, okay, you just survived an earthquake, but there's other things that you're picking up on energetically.
Huh, interesting stuff. So, all in all, what would you like to say to our listeners about 2011?
All in all, I feel 2011 is going to be a really good year for all of us, economically speaking, in terms of the economy, the real estate, jobs. There's going to be an increase in jobs. Our whole unemployment is going to go down. I think our government is going to pave the way for certain things that's really going to mean a lot to us in the future. And I also feel that we're going to go through some tumultuous times with things happening here on the earth. And the main message I have for that is, know your neighbors, know your people in your community, and certainly we're all survivors and we can handle it. I don't see anything coming along that is so cataclysmic that we can't handle it.
Well, that's what we were based or founded on, was being able to resolve big problems.
Right. Right, exactly.
Now, Sonia, is there a website people can go and find out more about what you do and, find out more about predictions?
Sure. It's www.sonja, SONJA, Grace, GRACE.com.
Sonia Grace, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program. I know that I, along with our listeners, feel better already.
Thanks, Dan. It was great to talk with you.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
We also encourage you, the listeners out there, be sure to visit us at our website, which is beyond50radio.com. That's the number 50. Sign up for our free weekly e-newsletter, as well as visit us at our blog. We do archive our shows there, so you can listen at your convenience, as well as pass on to others as well. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Beyond 50 radio program. Remember, live your day past